What would you do if you only had 6 months to live? Would you live lavishly, spending all your life savings during this duration? Would you live modestly and gradually live out your days with the ones you love? Would you live for others, putting someone's problems before yours and aiding them in their cause? This is a question repeated in Akira Kurosawa's film Ikiru. A film ahead of its time, it raises radical questions in post-war Japan, an era known for the rebuilding and reclaiming of Japan's spirit. Enter Mr. Watanabe, an elderly man whose life work as a public affairs section chief for 30 years is now questioned as he discovers that he has stomach cancer. In a panicked state, he sets out to reclaim his life. In the film, Mr. Watanabe runs into a couple of strangers that change his outlook on life. Befriending a novelist, he sets out to find a spark in Tokyo's nightlife. However, his feelings of emptiness overcome his emotions, putting him into an uncomfortable state. Head hunched over and constantly looking down, Mr. Watanabe has nothing to look forward to. Takashi Shimura, the actor who plays Mr. Watanabe, expresses him beautifully. Piercing eyes and heartbroken body language, Mr. Watanabe sulks in his thoughts. Shots of him in the dark, alone, show the audience his isolated state. His inability to talk to his son is detrimental to his well-being. Alone, people are unable to overcome their adversities. But with help, one could build a foundation to something that seems impossible. Running into a co-worker, Toyo Aragiri, Mr. Watanabe's curiosity grows stronger. He asks her, in response, she explains her joy in the small things from her new workplace. This is her ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese word that translates to reason of being. This philosophy is foreign with Mr. Watanabe, as his uneventful life in a bureaucratic job breathes no passion. However, his mindset changes when he realizes what he can do. As a final move, Mr. Watanabe musters his leftover strength and inner passion to do what's right. He uses his job to help the community around him, something he has forgotten during his 30 years in an ineffective system. His building of a new park, a place where he spends his final days, and his journey in pushing to construct it is considered his magnum opus as a public worker. His co-workers are left baffled at his final act. They question and conclude that Mr. Watanabe wholeheartedly devoted his final days into an idea he thought was meaningful, something that gave his life true meaning. They mourned and gathered, saying, "We'd have done the same." But they didn't and couldn't have. Only Mr. Watanabe could have achieved the impossible. And he did, because his cancer opened his eyes to his own life, or rather, a new one. Gadala no Uta, an old Japanese folk song, begins with the words, "Life is brief," and ends with the words, "For those to whom today will never return." This haunting melody, one Mr. Watanabe sung at his lowest and happiest states in the film, tells us, the audience, a message. Live. Ikiru translates to live, and Mr. Watanabe's journey of self-discovery gave him that extra strength to continue living, to continue pushing. I believe that we can all learn something from Mr. Watanabe, to continue looking forward, even when we're feeling down, because life is brief, but it's a damn good one.